This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, good morning. So let's start out with some warm-up exercises, and we're just going to get right into the drill that we did last week, which was the 8 treasures, or the 8 brocades, as it's sometimes known.
You know, Ralph, I'm having difficulty hearing you. Is anyone else? Or
No.
The audio is good for everyone?
Yeah, it's good for me.
Okay.
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 All right. Sorry about that. All right. So, are you too close to your screen? No, that's not it. All right. So let's start with the 8 brocades. And the first one, I don't know if I went into this, but there's a simple kind of way to remember how to do these in a particular order. So the first one we're going to do is simply bring the fingers together, and we're going to bring the hands up under the chin, palms facing up, fingers touching. And we really want to torque this. So we want to try to stretch all the muscles in our hands, our wrists, and our forearms, shoulders. So we get a lot of benefit, more benefit from it. We're stretching those tendons, so important. And then we're going to rotate both hands around in a circular motion and up. So as if we're holding up the heavens. And then we're just going to come back down and lift up again. So it's just a rotational movement, in and out, up and down. Breathing in as we stretch. Breathing out as we relax the shoulders. Good. All right. And now rotating the hands in opposite directions. One goes up and one goes down, pushing up and down. Back to the same position. You can do it standing or sitting. I see Patricia Liu doing it standing. If you're doing it standing, you will obviously want to distribute your weight evenly between your toes and your heels and between both feet. You can either do this with your feet together, in which case your toes are pointing out, heels together, or you can do it with your feet about shoulder length apart. Okay, good. Kind of come back and relax. So when we press go up, we want to go up like we're holding a tray, all right? You can, it's hard to see, maybe see my hand, so I tilted it. So this is what it's going to look like. And so you can see how you're even on going up, you're stretching all those tendons. All right, so we want to get as much out of this as we can. And then coming down, I'm pressing down like this. Okay, so these arms are symmetrical, and they're mirror images of each other. Okay, so the next one we're going to go just back and forth, turning the head from side to side. Wise owl looks back. One side to the other. Okay, so now we've done 3. So the sequence that I would recommend that might help you remember the first three. You can remember the first three. All you have to do is remember the sequence of the last five. So it's a little bit easier. But I start out with this one here. So when you go up and come down and in, you're looking up and down, right? You're looking at your palms and then rotating up and looking up as your hands go up. And that's like saying yes, right? The next one that I recommend you do is wise owl looks back, and that's like saying no. And the third is the hands are moving in opposite directions. That's like saying I don't know. All right, so it's like yes, no, I don't know. So that's the way I remember the first three. Usually if I remember the first three, you can get through the others. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is I like to go right into my favorite, which is bend the bow, shoot the tiger. And you can do the standing up or sitting down. I'm going to do it standing up. Doing it sitting down, you just leave the leg movements out of it, but it's basically the same, right? So when you do this, there's in part of it, you're going to want to curl the last fingers of your hand, last three fingers of your hand down, with the index finger pointed up and the thumb pointed out at 90 degrees. So this is the way it's going to look like. And not only that, but you're rotating your palm, your hand up, so it's at 90 degrees or so from the wrist. All right. So we start out, whether you're sitting or standing. I'm standing, and I'm standing with my feet, heels together, toes pointed out. That's the proper structure. Whether you're sitting or standing, you want to relax your shoulders, relax your hands, stand up straight, tuck your chin in. You really want to get good posture when we're doing this. And my legs are not totally straight. My legs are bent a little bit, right? Just like in Tai Chi, if you were standing, doing Tai Chi in the standing position. And the first thing I'm going to do is make two fists. And as I make two fists, I bring the fists up at the eye of the fist up, and I draw the elbows back to this ready position. And so it's one. And the next thing I'm going to do is step out. And as I step out, I'm going to bring my forearms together and bend my arms so that the forearms are touching. Now I'm turning the heart of the palms out. So you see what you're doing here is you're getting all this stretch. You're stretching all the muscles in, tightening all the muscles up in your chest and your arms and shoulders. And that's what you should feel. You should feel that isometric stretching, all right? And if I do this standing up, I'm stepping as I do this. And I'm stepping into what's called a horse stance, as if I'm riding a horse. And I'm stepping out with one leg from this position with the toes pointed out. And then I'm changing slightly the position of my feet so the toes are pointed forward. And I'm in this position here. Now, if you're doing it standing up, don't bend over like this. Try to keep your body upright and don't lean your head forward. Tuck your chin in, maintain your posture. And so I'm in this position, and then I just peel the arms away from each other, and I pull back with one fist as I rotate out in this motif with the other hand. And I look through that finger as I push out and pull, like I'm bending a bow. And now I just draw up to the direction of my finger, if you're standing. Again, into a stance where the feet are pointing out, toes are pointing out, and the heels together or slightly together, arms at your side. So here we go again. We're going to sink and get up into our ready position and step out, arms together. And we're just going to slowly push in the other direction. Try not to lean. I often see students doing this or mostly doing this. Try to keep upright. And now I'm going to come up to the left. Ready position, sink, step out, crunch. And devotion to the tiger. Come up. Ready position, step out. And devotion to tiger. Relax, come up. Ready position, step out, crunch. All three done at the same time. And devotion to tiger. Relax, come up. Ready position, sink, step out, crunch. Elbows together. And devotion to tiger. Come up. And take a closing breath. You can do it this way. I've seen it done this way. You come down about halfway, you bring your arms to your side, slide down. I like that feeling. Up, down, and in and down. Okay, next one, whether you're sitting or standing, what you do is you put your arms on your hips, all right, your hands on your hips. You step out into a horse stance if you're standing, and just lean back to one side and the other. This routine is the product of a man who's lived in around the 1000, year 1000. He was a general in the Chinese army. His name was never get it right. General Fei, F-Y-E. And this was a series of exercises he developed to condition his troops, his infantry troops. And now we're just going to come up, take a closing breath. All right, so that's 4, 5. Again, step out to the horse position. Sink, ready position, elbows back, 2 fists, part of the fist up at your waist. And we're going to punch out and stare glaringly, punching out to the diagonal, 45 degrees from the horizon to the sky, top of the sky. Stretch, look at your fist. Bring the palm back. This one's easy. Again, to the other side. Maintaining your posture in this position is demanding, and it builds the muscles in your legs. You can really feel it. You won't get this, of course, sitting. Step in and close. Okay. The next one we're going to do is if you're sitting, you just stick your legs out straight, or as straight as you can. Get to the tip of your chair if you can. Put your hands, fingers together. You can clasp your hands as well, and you want to push out and down toward your feet. Right. So if you're sitting, you're going to be doing it this way with your feet stretched out, and if you're standing, you're going to be bending and pushing down. You come up, push down, come up, push down, come up. Go down and stay. Take a closing breath. All right. And finally, we're going to bounce on the heels of our feet. We're going to pick our toes up and bounce. You can do it standing up. And if you're sitting down, you can do the same thing. If you can use your feet, you just lift your heels up and bang it down as hard as you can. At the same time, project yourself up. And you can simulate the same feeling by, if you don't have the use of your legs or your feet, by simply banging down on the soft part of your chair, the cushion of the chair. It's supposed to stimulate the metabolism and develop or increase chi in your body. Okay. All right, so let's go through the form. Now let's transition into the sunset. And let me just check to see who's here today. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we start out with the opening move. Relax. Shoulders down, chin in. Feet on the floor if we can. Raising the hands, fingers pointing down. Bring the hands up, arms stretched out. Bring the palms in like you're holding a beach ball. Back down to the dantian, and we push out. Bring the palms in and open and close. Breathing in and breathing out. Single whip, turn the palms facing out. Push out. Extend just past the shoulders as we lean slightly to the right. Leaning to the left, bringing the right hand down in an arc across the dantian, landing the lower palm, the right palm up under the left elbow. Preparing for cloud hands, let's switch up and down. Right jab, and we pull across to the other side. And just repeat this movement. Try to feel the connection between your hands and between, since you're sitting, one buttock and the other hand. So as I'm pulling to the right, I'm pushing down with my left buttock. As I switch and pull to the left, I'm pushing down, counteracting that force, moving across with the upper left hand, pushing down slightly, applying pressure with the right buttock. This is the essence of silk reeling. When we talk about silk reeling, is feeling the connection between different parts of your body, but only when they're complementary. So I'm using pressure to control a move with another part of my body. And see if you can feel that. It's a kind of shift, and it has a circular movement to it. You won't see it. It's very subtle. It's more of kind of a feeling. And if you do this and relax and breathe, you will feel like your body is moving as one, rather than different parts of your body moving. Everything is moving in one, as one element together. And notice that the movements are the opposite direction. I'm going clockwise, one hand counterclockwise with another hand. One is moving up, one is moving down and across. And yet they're complementary. And so that is the essence of Tai Chi. And it's the flavored feeling, and it's the whole idea of yin and yang. Different forces, sometimes opposite, but different. Opposite is a more extreme example of different. Something can be different, but not the opposite of something else. Different movements are all in sync, complementing each other, making the whole greater than the individual pieces. And you can practice this with any of the movements, but this is a really good one because there's a lot going on. So if all you do is just this, that's enough. That's great. And at some point, we want to stop and move on to the next one, which is going to bring the lower hand scooping down and up and out and around. So it's a scooping feeling and out to the sides, ending with the palms facing each other as we open and close, okay? Single whip, cloud hands open and close. As we open and close, we have that silk opportunity to feel an energy of pulling out and pushing in. So we feel a gentle resistance, like we're letting the ball expand and contracting it. And that connection in that feeling is, again, an example of silk reeling. All right, so we can just come down and relax for a second. So after the open and close, we're getting ready for brush knee. Whether you're doing it sitting or standing, you're going to turn and you're going to set up. Right, with the left fingers folded down near or on the right elbow. Turning to the side and pulling the hand back, getting ready to use that posture, to use the energy that's built up in that posture to do something. And that something is going to be blocking across and coming through and striking. Brush knee. So let's, everything we do in Tai Chi is done in two directions. And we practice it in two directions so that we can get to a point where there's no bias in doing it either way, where it feels totally comfortable doing it in either direction. And in fact, in doing it in both directions, they become complementary again, all right? Which is kind of another feature of it. So you may find it a little bit feeling a little different in one direction than the other, depending on whether you're right or left-handed. But what you do through practice is get to a point where it really doesn't matter. The flow and feeling is the same. Because if you were going to use all this stuff, if you had a bias, you'd really be at a disadvantage. If you had to go to the right to get away from something, go to the left to get away from something, and you had a preference, you might go to the right when you should have gone to the left and vice versa, because you're going to be doing this without thinking. So that's the other part of the practice, is to become totally familiar with it in both directions. And we can do some drills instead of waiting until the second part of the set to go in the other directions. We can do some drills. We can do brush knee, and then we can come back and set up in the other direction and do brush knee, and then change, and then change. And to change, I'm going to turn my hand and pull in and reach back. So I come here, go away. Turn the palms over, come here, go away. Turn the palms over, come here, set up, go away. Turn the palms over, come here, set up, go away. And just keep moving. And as I push out and pull in, changing pressure, applying pressure in my chair to connect these movements so that they flow with certainty and power. So I went into a bit of an explanation of how to use this in practice. So, I mean, one obvious one is you're just basically reaching across and blocking. And you can reach across and block this way, or you can block down, as you then use this hand to push away or to strike. And it can be different ways. You can use your fist, you can use your finger. They're all different variations of it. But one interesting variation is demonstrates the power of torsional movements, and I'm going to get Wendy to help me with this. So I'm going to move away from the screen, and I'll be back in about 10 seconds. Hey, Wendy. Wendy? Could you help me now? Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, I talked about this last week, but you'll really see this now, and it'll make a lot more sense because there's a lot going on here. So this is Wendy.
Hello.
All right, and I'm going to use brush knee. So the first movement, the first example is the simple example. Is I'm basically set up like this, and Wendy is going to. She's going to reach across and slowly punch, right? And I'm going to move across like this. She's going to punch low, and I'm going to move across like this and step in and push. Or if she does it, I could do this. Or this. Or just simply turn her around and push it. Going the other way, I would do it. It's always contralateral. So if she comes with the right fist, all right. And if you're going to use your fist, tuck your thumb in. You don't want to leave your thumb up. Right? Not in there, but like this. Good. She comes in this way, right? I've got to step around like this and push like this. At the same time she does this, I can come around and grab, and I can do a lot of things here, but this hand here, I'm going to step forward and I'm basically going to do something. I can come in like this. I can turn the arm upside down and break it. You know, there's a bunch of things you can do. But one of the really cool applications is that when he comes in and I'm set up like this, right? I'm setting up for brush knee, all right? And she comes in with the left hand, all right? I can do this without even stepping. So what I'm doing is just twisting my body around, see? And now I'm in a position where I can grab her hand with just two fingers, basically. And now I can, you just stand straight. I mean, let's try it again. So Wendy's not going to move, she's just going to punch, right? And I'm here, I'm just going to turn my body like this. And now I'm in a position to grab her hand and then reach around in and push her back over. And it's the simple movement like this. And so this is a form of brush knee because this hand is coming across, and instead of this hand striking, this arm is twisting and deflecting. And this is a deflection. We're going to get into that later, which is why I wanted to go over this. So when she strikes me and I do this, I'm not applying any force to her. All I'm doing is meeting her energy and using my arm as I twist it in this up motion, right, to deflect that punch past me. At the same time, by turning into this, what's called a Lotus Step, I am turning my body sideways, thus presenting less of a target, right? So I don't want to stay in this position. I'm accomplishing a lot with the simple movement. So she thrusts, I turn her and I turn my body sideways, putting me in a position where I can, I'm on her blind side, grab her wrist and come in. I can use an elbow. I can do this. I can reach around and grab her this way and pull her around. So there's all kinds of things I can do from the simple movement of just doing this. All right. And this is a spiral movement. So indicative of so many of the movements in Tai Chi is using the spiral energy. I wanted to, while she's here, we're going to practice the art of deflection by using the movement in the next movement that's coming up after we did play the lute. So we're going to go over play the lute again, and then we're going to go directly into deflection, parry and punch. We're going to spend some time on deflection. And so while she's here, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. The art of deflection, I see this so often with students, is that Wendy punches me again, right? I want to get on the other side. And my job isn't to do this. That's very hard for me to do. I mean, it's not hard for me to do, but it's not, for one thing, I'm going to damage my hand. And for another thing, if Wendy was, she's pretty strong, but even if she was like Chad and she was a really big person, and I try to block her across, I have to use a lot of energy to do that. And not only that, but if she does that and I want to move her in this direction, I have to come around here like this to apply some force. And that takes, I'll never be able to do that quicker than her ability to come in and strike me. And so what I'm going to do is, as she comes in to strike me, in this case up here, all I do is I come up like this. Now, the reason why I come up like this, which is in this deflect, parry, punch, the forward hand is up. Why is it up? All right? Why isn't it like this or some other direction? It's up because it's using a spiraling force to deflect that force past me. All right? And as I do that, I'm going to turn my body this way to get away from it. And her energy is going to go right past me. So in a way, what I'm doing is I'm using kind of almost an upward force. It's 45 degrees out to deflect, and it's not pushing aside. And when I practice this with students, I'll demonstrate it, and then we practice it. Inevitably, they add too much force to the left. So the whole idea in Tai Chi is to use as little force as possible. And that's why it works so well. It doesn't work well if you use a lot of force, because you're just defeating yourself. And the other thing you'll see in Tai Chi is two people facing each other. If one person doesn't attack, nothing happens. And that's the way it should be, right? There's no reason to protect yourself unless you're being, somebody is coming at you and directly threatening you. If they're not threatening you, there's no need to use force. So it's all part of this whole philosophy of not using force if you don't need to, because it's a waste of energy, or using as little force as possible if you have to, using body mechanics and balance and what God has given you, and the ability to take forces and to neutralize them in different directions using different parts of your body. All right. So, so thank you, Wendy. That's basically what I wanted. Sometimes it's easier to show you with somebody what we're doing here. So are there any questions so far before we move on? Okay, now, you're saying, well, what good is this? I'm sitting in a chair. Well, you can do this sitting in a chair just as easily. If somebody comes at me to punch me, I can do the same movement, right? I can grab that hand and I can reach out and put my leg out and push him over. I can do exactly the same thing in the sitting position. I may have to practice it a little bit more to modify it a little bit to make it work a little better. I haven't played around with that, but I invite you to do that. All right, so now that you understand it, you can play around with this. And that's how I've learned a lot of applications. I've learned some of the basics, and then I kind of think about it, how they can be used in different ways, combining different things from different parts of the set. All right, so we ended up with brush knee. And so now we're going to go into play the lute. So last week we did play the lute, and all it is when you're in this position is thinking of grabbing a wheel and turning the wheel to begin with clockwise in this case. All right. So we're here, all right, and we're going to bring this hand down, this hand up, and we want the positioning of the hands from each other to be about the distance from an elbow to a wrist. Wendy, why don't you come back and I'll show you. So I did this with Chad, but Chad is in my living room. So if Wendy comes at me with a it doesn't matter. Let's say she comes at me with that hand. All right, she's going to come at me like this, right? What I'm going to do is grab her hand. I'm going to step aside and grab the hand like this. All right. So you can see the play the lute motif, and that's why it has to be about the distance of the hands in practice from the elbow to an arm, which changes depending on here. Turn around. So turn all the way around. So this is what it would look like in this position. And if I grab her hand and turn her joint over, I can break her arm. So play the lute means grabbing and turning, usually turning. And this is why often when you see it done, they do this. It's basically turning and pushing down. The other thing you can do is convert that to this, where you have more leverage, and turn her down, and then again you come down, either break the arm or just control her, just move her around because she's in that kind of position. Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's the kind of simulating playing the lute is grabbing a wrist or applying pressure against the wrist, pressure against the elbow, and then turning it. And so as we play the lute, okay, we're doing it in two directions from if we do it in the second half of the set. And so we can practice that. So now when you play the lute, now that you understand the application, you want to feel pressure, the pushing and pushing together like this, like you're compressing a joint. All right. And so as you come up to play the lute, you want to feel like you're pulling down and pressing up and turning. That's the feeling that you want to have. And we can play around with that by doing this simple exercise that I often do with you guys at the beginning. We didn't do it this time. But right at the beginning, we just hold the ball, that energy ball, and we turn it around and around. We try to feel the connection between the hands. Now let's do this, but in this case, as we turn the wheel, let's press down and press up at the same time. So we're asking our brains to be comfortable with two things that are rotations in the opposite direction, with a feeling, a force of pulling up and pulling down in both directions, and getting comfortable with that. All right, makes sense? And so if you go from here to here, you're turning the wheel, but you're feeling like you're pulling up on an elbow and pulling down on a wrist. Now, I'm not grabbing it. I don't even need to grab it. If I'm really expert at this, I don't need to even grab. I just use the hands to find that person's parts of that person's body, the wrist and my elbow, and turn it, applying pressure up and pressure down. And we can just play with that movement. And we can do a Tai Chi, a Qigong, with that movement. We just made this up, right? Add some energy to it, pushing down with one buttock and pushing up. As we push down, we push down with one hand, we press down with the other buttock to balance it out. And so this is the movement. And you go from here to here to here. If you go from here to here, it's in the other direction. Brush knee, play the lute. Brush knee, play the lute. Okay. All right, so I hope that's helpful. That's the feeling you should have when you're doing it. And then the next step is going to be deflect, parry, punch. So it's one movement called deflect, parry, punch that we're going to dissect, and we're going to study we're going to dissect and discuss the first part of it, delve into that a little bit. So some of this is redundant. You know, I've done some of this before. Is after we play the lute, we're in this perfect position to just simply turn one hand up and the other down. So if we're playing the lute to the right, what makes sense at this point is to continue that rotation by turning the lower hand up and the upper hand down. And so it's, if you're turning the wheel, you're just turning the wheel a little bit further. So instead of the hands facing each other, the hands are still facing each other, you just turn them over. Yeah, a lot of people say, well, you play the lute, okay, now in deflect, which hand do you turn over? You turn the bottom hand down or you turn it up? Well, if you just continue the feeling of turning that wheel, it automatically turns the lower hand up and the upper hand down. All right, makes perfect sense. Now you're set up naturally to do the next move, which is different. This next move isn't a rotational move in this direction. It's more of a kind of a linear torsional move in the horizontal plane, in the in and out, I'm sorry, the sagittal plane. All right. So you're not playing around with these planes, you're playing around with going in and out. Now, none of these moves in Tai Chi are linear. This is linear, right? If we're going to use this like I did with Wendy to advantage, I play the lute. I'm going to turn this hand up, this hand down. I'm going to get rid of this hand for a second. Now, Chad is going to strike me with his right hand right here, and I'm going to come up like so and deflect off to the side, just like I did with Wendy, right? As I do this, I'm going to turn my body. I'm not going to turn this way because I can't push Chad's arm aside. He's too big and strong. And so I don't want to go in this direction. I want to go in the opposite direction. I am turning away. And as I turn away, I am initiating a torsional rotational move with a lot of energy, kind of like turning my body in one direction and pushing up and out in the other direction. All right. I'm kind of offering a peace sign in a way. I'm saying, you know, there you go. And the movement is obviously I need to deflect it to the side and up, really. And so what I want to do is I'm going to come out a little bit and then up and in. And so you can see that torsional movement. All right. We do it together, and it's a beautiful move. I can do this against him. So Chad is going to do this, and I'm going to do it with the other hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so we're playing this game together. All right, and I invite you to do that with partners, because what it'll do, it'll really give you a sense of how little force you need to use to connect with another person, feel that person's energy, and to be able to deflect it aside. And you can't do this just up here. You have to practice it. You know, you have to actually have that experience, but it doesn't take long to do. And so what we're doing is we're both deflecting, and you know, so he's going to come out to try to strike me here, and I'm going to deflect with this hand, and then I'm going to go here to strike him here, and he's going to deflect with the other hand, and we just play this game like this. And notice how one hand comes in and the other hand comes back, and that's just like in the form. So getting back to the form, again, it is not linear. It's very different. The reason why I'm going in and out, right? In and out, is to find that center. I can't find it linearly unless I'm really lucky. It's by chance that I might just find that right. If I come in and out a little bit, it allows me a chance to kind of find and connect with him and stick with him. It gives me more of an opportunity to kind of make that connection happen.
Sifu?
Yes.
I had a suggestion, maybe it would help everybody. If you didn't have a partner, you actually can use an open door. So whether you're standing or you're in a chair or a wheelchair, you can go up to the door that is, as it's open. So imagine this is my door here, and you can actually feel the torsional move, and you'll feel the door move. So you'll actually feel that torsional feeling that you're talking about, you know, simply by doing that, because that door is on a hinge. It will move left and right, but I think it's valuable because you will feel how effortless the door moves when you hit the proper angle, just torsionally moving your arm up like so.
That's a good idea. So he's just saying, if you open the door and the door is facing you, just pretend it's kind of a linear force coming at you, and you know, just reach out and brush it. Now, the only problem with that is the door has edges to it.
Yes. I didn't say it was perfect, okay? I just thought it was a suggestion, and I'm not suggesting you hit it hard, because there's no hardness to this, but I think that just like an arm is connected to a shoulder, so is a door connected to a door jamb, and that was my thinking.
Yeah, and if you did that, you could do it two ways. You can reach out and smack it and get that feeling, and then reach as if you're going through it around and you're just kind of deflecting it, and you can really see the difference. So the whole point of Tai Chi isn't just to move our hands and our feet in different directions and feel, this good feeling. Yeah, that's fine. But to really get everything we can out of it, to understand the essence of it, the way it was created, in the way it was created, is to understand the physics and then to connect with the feeling. Okay, and so that's what I'm trying to impart here, is trying to go through the movements and then connect the movements to the brain, to the feeling, and pretty soon you get a feel for it, and it becomes very fluid, much more fluid that way, and practical if you want to use it in that fashion for self-defense. But so it makes sense as you turn that wheel to go into the next step and just continue that movement, and then that movement is going to be, and now this is just the way the movement is done in the Tai Chi set. You're going to pass one hand across the other, brushing the hands together, pulling one hand in and pulling the other hand back, and then turning the hands around and going the other way. Right? And so as you're pulling, it's like you're pulling in and pushing out. We can do this exercise or drill. It's usually done twice, and then we make two fists and we go to the next step. But notice how these movements are not just in and out like this. They are rotational. And the body turns, and the shoulders turn around the waist. And it's the waist which drives the movement. And there's where that feeling of silk rolling comes in. The feeling of the hands pulling and pushing, pulling away from each other, stretching the silk band. The feeling of turning at the waist to drive those movements, the connection between the waist and the hands. And if you want to take it to another level, all of this energy is going down into your body or eventually your feet if you're standing. And so you should feel the connection in the sitting case between your buttocks, the waist, and the hands all moving and flowing together. All right. So this is a good time to talk about the snake. So I don't know if you've watched snakes much. I like snakes. All the snake is a bag of bones and muscle. That's all it is, It's kind of like a slinky. It doesn't do anything. It's just connected. These are vertebrate, if you will, and it can jiggle around, you can pick a snake up and pretty much do anything you want with it. But if that snake coils, it's using all that energy. It's creating potential energy. And then if it releases that energy, you get force, right? And so the slinky itself isn't much until it creates a structure that can release energy. That's what I'm saying. And if you watch a snake coil up, a snake will coil up, and in its coiling, what it's doing is like we're doing brush knee, is it's reaching back. It's a coiling motion, which then uncoils in the opposite direction. And in uncoiling, it releases a tremendous amount of energy in a strike. So I like to use examples like that. And this is what we're doing in Tai Chi, is now I'm coiled in this direction, I'm releasing the energy in this direction, coiling in this direction. And it's just going from one side to the other. And if you will, it's almost like an energy machine. And you can't do this just with linear movements. They have to be coiling movements in order to make them effective. So it's 11:57. And so I like this drill. So in the set, it's play the lute, deflect, deflect, make 2 fists, but I like to keep one open, parry across and punch. Either parry across and punch under or parry across and punch over. Next week, we'll do some applications. Wendy will be here. I'll show you a whole bunch of applications for parry and punch. And you can do 2-person routines with that too. I'll see if I can do it with her. I haven't taught it to her, but we'll see if we can do these routines together. And then if you pay attention and practice, you'll be able to do that with a partner. It's a lot of fun. Okay, I think we've run out of time. I hope I haven't wasted too much of your time today.
Oh, come on.
It is nonsense, but it's good nonsense. So
We're here, we show up.
all right. See you guys next week.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
the class, Sifu.
Bye.